Hey guys, it's John. You're on the JRB Tree Climbing channel. Today we are going to talk about basic rappel techniques using the Munter Friction Hitch. It was on this tree a few years ago where I filmed the most popular video on my channel called Single Rope Rappel on the Munter Friction Hitch. And in that video, please refer to it, and any supporting videos will be in the video description for this one. In that video, I rappelled using two bridges. I always have my saddles rigged up with two bridges, an upper and a lower one. And for a beginning saddle hunter who just got a brand new saddle, look, Mom, I just got a new saddle. It's only got one bridge. I want to hook myself up to a tree, and I want to learn some, basic comfort things, and I want to learn how to rappel. I urge you to think about that. Even if rappel is not part of your initial plan for how to get down out of a tree, I urge you to become familiar with basic rappel techniques, because any hunter, anytime, can find themselves in a situation where they've got nothing under their feet and they've got to get out of a tree. 1 in 3 hunters statistically who climb in the course of their lifetime will experience some sort of a mishap or an injury or worse. And a lot of times it has to do with getting stuck in a tree. Even the fall arrest team, they'll fall out of a tree stand and they'll be hanging from a rope. Got to be able to get down. And a saddle is a great tool to be able to do so. And we can get out of the tree using only one bridge. Okay, so what do we need to accomplish this? The first thing we need is a rope, and I don't mean a tether. I have no use for tethers, even in my own climbing. I realize that they have become the standard for the saddle hunting industry, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're a good idea. A tether, that's for somebody who's up in the space station. It takes you back to a safe place. Well, when you're a climber, the safe place is the ground. And just think of your lifeline or your climbing rope as a long tether that can always get you to a safe place. The details of the rope you use, like here's a brand new rope. It's just getting marketed from our friends at Ape Canyon Outfitters. I've rigged it up with my 3-hitch system. There's a great rope. Here's another rope. The details of the rope, well, it's just got to be long enough for you, and the general rule of thumb is, 40 feet is enough. You buy more, you can do better things. The next thing you need is an anchor. There are many possible anchors that you can put on a tree trunk. This one I call the saddle hunter's hitch. It's a really simple way to get a rope anchored onto a tree manually. Now, the saddle hunter's hitch can't be advanced with a pole or anything like that, but it's a just really good basic hitch, and you can get it up nice and high. The next thing you need is, whether it's a mechanical device or whether it's a friction hitch, it's got to be one which is reliably breakable under load. This is my Longhorn Agile hitch. The Longhorn Agile hitch is breakable under load, but most friction hitches are not. And most mechanical devices, like, for example, the Ropeman from Wild Country, it's a great device, but you can't reliably release it under load. So I do urge you to learn how to tie the Longhorn Agile hitch. I've got plenty of supporting videos. It's got some incredible features. I just tied this one. I'm loading it for the very first time. And what I want you to do is I want you to get comfortable at the base of a tree before you even climb, before you put a stick on. I've got my platform here, but I just want you to be comfortable at the base of a tree. And I want to make sure that your friction hitch is breakable under load. What I mean is I've got my full body weight on my friction hitch here, and I can break it. I can break it and transition into rappel. If you've got trouble breaking your friction hitch, which is always a possibility, that's time when you really want to have a second bridge or the ability to fabricate one. And so I'm showing you something here today, which is really not my normal way of climbing. I would always engage the use of this bridge for my Munter, but I'm going to show you some ways that we can do it here. And the last thing we need for this is a carabiner. And I'm going to get you in close so I can show you some details about the kind of carabiner that we like to use. Okay, so this is the carabiner that I'm currently running on both my bridges. It's available at Ape Canyon Outfitters. It's from Notch, and it's an HMS carabiner. HMS describes the shape of it, which is kind of pear-shaped with a taper here. Here's another carabiner I've used a lot. You can see the wear marks on it. This is from Petzl. It's also an HMS style. It's slightly bigger. And here's a smaller HMS carabiner, and here's an oval. Now, why am I showing you all this? Well, in order to rappel on just your carabiner, just your main carabiner, you want some real estate. You want a larger carabiner. This is more difficult. It's not impossible, but close to it. It's actually impossible if you were to use a larger diameter rope. There's just not enough real estate to form the munter. And so I'll be doing this demonstration here on the Notch HMS, but you can imagine how a smaller carabiner might present more of a challenge. Okay, so here I am still at the base of the tree. I want to give you a really close-up view. And what you can see here is the way that load is placed. Here's the Longhorn Agile hitch. It's actually in the stable mode. My two load loops, well, they naturally orient here near the spine of the carabiner, and they leave me a little bit of real estate over here on the left side. And so what I can do is I can actually squeeze a Munter Friction Hitch in right here. Now, I'm not telling you this is the best way to rappel, because there'll be some grinding. There'll be some grinding of the munter against my cord, and I don't like that. But in an emergency situation, or if you're just learning, this is a fine way to go. Mother Nature's raining on us right now, but we're gonna keep on going. I'm going to form a Munter Friction Hitch right here. How do we form a munter? Okay. I form an underhand loop to the left. Now I'm right-handed, so everything be reversed if you're left-handed. And then I bring this up. And the location of my finger needs to be replaced with this carabiner. So I'm going to simply pop that in. I'm going to give that a minute to sit, so you could, for example, if you wanted to screenshot that or whatever, you can have that on your phone if you ever needed to refer to it in an emergency. But I'm now, although it's really jammed up and tiny here, I can rappel. And so I'm taking all the slack out, right? Now, what I'm going to do, my feet are off the ground. Let's get ready. Okay, my feet are off the ground. I am with my right hand. I'm going to break this friction hitch, and I'm going to do a very short rappel, and then we'll repeat. Okay, so if you saw that, it was a little bit choppy, right? Because there's really not a lot of real estate here. I'm intentionally using, thicker stuff. This is 10mm rope and 7mm cord. It's kind of constrained, and it would have been pretty much impossible if I did this on a smaller carabiner. But there's a second way to tie your munter such that you're actually straddling this line. So this time, I'm going to form my underhand loop. And instead of fully forming the munter and putting the carabiner through, instead of that, I'm going to get this strand around on this side. How am I going to do that? Like this. I form half of the munter, just half of it, and put it through. And now I'm going to have to finagle this rope all the way around like I'm throwing it over my right shoulder and now over my head, such that now I can put it through. And I formed the munter, but I'm straddling the friction hitch, right? I've got one strand here and one strand here. That's going to give me a little bit more room to operate. All right, I'm going to take my feet off the ground. Might swing a little bit. Okay, and here once again, but this is less crowded. This is less crowded. It's a better use of space. Now, it's going to create a little bit of wear there. If you rappel this way all the time, you're going to really have to pay attention to the wear being placed on your friction hitch. But it's legit. It works, and I can get down out of a tree. We're going to do that quite a few times to make sure we're comfortable with it before we get up any higher. Remember, you always want to mess around with stuff like this with some supervision. You want to do it, with a buddy in the backyard, such that there's a spotter there. There's variables in our system. One of them is the anchor that we place on the tree. Right now I'm engaging the JRB cinch. If you see my website and you see the list of anchors, there's a growing list of trunk anchors. So this video is not about trunk anchors, but I just want to make sure you're aware that there are multiple to choose from. But let's get up just a little higher as I step up on my platform. Right? This is a position that you want to get into as a saddle hunter before you climb, such that you can experiment with how long you want your bridge. You always got to be able to get your hand here on top of your friction hitch, and you want to practice things like your shooting positions. So for example, everyone knows the strong side shot. I like my anchor nice and high, such that when I take a weak side shot on a platform, I can easily lean in and take the shot on the weak side and around the 6 o'clock. I've got a separate video on shot positioning. But get comfortable, and also get comfortable with your feet off of the platform. This is your point of safety. On a long sit, you might find that you're getting some hip pinch or some blood circulation lost here. Get up. I sit like this all the time when I'm on a hunt, just with my feet up on the tree, and allow some circulation in here. Get comfortable and then practice your rappel. So here I am with my feet off the tree, and I'm going to engage my munter. And again, I'm going to do it the way I showed you the second time because I need a little bit more room here. I form half of the munter, and now you'll be able to see how I'm taking this whole thing, putting it over my head through the carabiner, and I've got that munter form. And when I rappel, I don't break the rope downward. I always break it upward. If you need even more resistance, if you're a bigger guy, so refer to that other video, we could go further. We could go form a super munter. A super munter looks like this. This is just too much resistance for me. If I try to rappel this way, I won't go anywhere. Like it's just too much. And so, but if you're a bigger guy, you might need to. But you need a big enough carabiner to do so. Here is standard munter. I got a firm grip on the brake strand, and I've got some space between it. We don't want our gloves or anything sucked into here. Facial hair or your actual hair or clothing can get sucked into the munter and cause a problem. You'll always want to rappel really slowly. So I got my hand out here, and I'm going to do a short, until my butt hits the ground. I'm going to do a short 4-foot rappel. You want to get your reps in at this height. Here I go. Break this. Just 2 fingers is all I need to break the Longhorn Agile. And I just ride that down. Want to stop? I stop. Want to start? I start. Okay, I'm going to give you another scenario, and this is actually one that any one of us could run into when hitch climbing. So this is my 3-hitch system. I've actually only got 2 hitches on it right now. Let's say you were hitch climbing, and the details of what anchor you use aren't really important. I'm using the Super Maverick hitch right here. And the Maverick pole. I really like the ability to advance my anchor up the tree using a pole. And if you look into my hitch climbing method, you know that I can climb to this point and I can transfer and get on the other side. Now, let's say that you were hitch climbing, and if you know anything about hitch climbing or even stick climbing, you know that you want to really have as short a bridge as possible. So let's say you were climbing on a fixed short bridge. Mine's adjustable, but let's say I had my short bridge really short, and I executed a climb. And let's say that I had to get down for some reason. You know, the details of why you had to get down out of the tree, well, there's a million reasons you might need to get down out of a tree. You might have just been uncomfortable. Okay, so let's set up for a hitch climb. And I'm going to do it with both feet in the foot loops. So I've got no redundancy here, right? I'm climbing on one very short bridge. My long bridge, you can disregard it, it's over my neck. And let's say you were, I'll go a little higher. Let's say you got to this point and you got a cramp, or your saddle started riding up and you were really uncomfortable in the leg straps. There's a million things that could go wrong, right? I had chest pain, or you're getting stung by hornets. There's a million reasons why you might need to get down out of a tree. But I'm not set up with my redundant bridges. I've only got one bridge. It's very short, and I can't lengthen it. This is a legitimate scenario, and one that I could hit. I've never hit it, but I recognize it could happen. So let's remove our guarded hitch foot loop. And let's go ahead. Now you're a little further away, but I'm going to form that munter right here. Got to pass this rope around me. And there, I've got it. I formed the munter here, and because I've got a friction hitch, which is breakable under load, I can rappel. Now, before I actually execute it, I've spent enough time on this rope and on my Longhorn Agile hitch to know that it's breakable under load. But I recognize the fact that not everyone has that level of comfort. And so if you ever have trouble breaking your friction hitch in this situation, the one thing you can do is take a step up. You know, before you start your rappel, like if you've been sitting on the rope for a long time, you can take the rope and you can move it, because that'll cause it to kind of break the grip it had on the rope if it had settled. And it's also a good reason why, although I don't carry any kind of a breaker, any kind of a device which can break your friction hitch, there are a number of possibilities. One thing that works great is a divot fixer if you're a golfer. I've got some ideas on my website. Why don't I carry that stuff? Well, because I always have two bridges. I don't need to worry about it. I can always transfer onto my other bridge. See my video for self-rescue after loss of footing, which always involves the use of two bridges. See all the work I've done on the bridge page on my website, showing you how even right now, if I needed to create a second bridge and I had a little piece of cord, I can do so. A lot of tools in your toolbox, but I'm going to get on with it. Break this hitch and go into my unplanned rappel. All right, guys, again, there's information here for beginners and there's information here for experts. And so you might see this video in a few places. As always, when I get questions, I want to say 85% of the time these days, when I get questions from folks, I can answer it with one simple answer, and that's jrbtreeclimbing.com. The website continues to evolve. I continue to store information where it fits in a growing page tree. Hit the site index and spend some time there. You might be watching this video on your big screen TV and not have access to the website. Spend some time on your phone or your computer and surf around the website. There's no ads. There's nothing but free information that I've given you for the right reasons. Thank you very much.